Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Toni and I'm a homeschooling mom to 4 kids. And we're talking today all about middle school. Beloved middle school years, that we all love. They can be awkward, we're unsure, and that's just the kid. Now we're talking about a homeschool mom to a middle schooler. And we probably are going through this stage of like, what do I do? It's almost high school. I'm going to ruin this kid. And you feel like you want to change everything just because high school is looming in the distance. I'm here to help you by looking at what my last 2 years of successfully graduating a middle schooler who is now going on to 9th grade next year. I'm going to share what I did right and I'm going to share what I did wrong. And I asked her what she thinks I did right and what I did wrong. And I'm going to share that with you guys so that it's easier on you because you really don't need to stress about it. If you want some help on how to be ready to successfully get through the middle school years as a homeschool mom, then stay tuned. Okay, so like I said, my oldest is going into 9th grade. She has successfully completed 7th grade and 8th grade, and we live to tell about it. So I'm just gonna share with you guys. I made a couple mistakes, but I also did some stuff right, which is really encouraging and exciting. What I did was I sat down with her and I said, okay, I'm gonna do a video on what I did wrong in the middle school years, kind of like a learn from me, what did I do wrong? And so I mentioned one thing that I thought I did wrong and she agreed with me, or not that I did wrong necessarily, but maybe something that I just, if I could do it over again, I'd do it differently. And I said, what else is there? And she's like, I think the rest was good. I think that's the only thing. And I was kind of shocked. She was like, Mom, I don't think you can do a whole video on that. So I was encouraged that I didn't completely ruin her middle school years like I maybe was worried that I was going to do. And we did okay. We did great. It was actually good. And like I said, we live to tell about it. So I'll share with you the one thing that I'd probably do different that's kind of a big deal. And then some stuff that we did right that I would encourage you to do in your middle school years. So if you have anywhere close to a rising middle schooler, and we're talking 7th and 8th grade, those are the 2 years that I consider middle school. I know 6th grade is considered middle school, but I'm old school. When we were in 6th grade, we were still in the elementary building. When we went to middle school, we were in 7th and 8th grade. And then we went to high school, we were in 9th through 12th. So that is stuck in my head and everybody's gonna have to deal with it because I consider 6th grade still elementary school. So we're talking 7th and 8th grade. So let's just get the bad thing out of the way, what I did wrong. And then I'll talk about the stuff that I feel like I did right, okay? I'm not gonna drag this on and make you guys wait till the end to hear the bad thing. We'll talk about it right now. If you're not yet subscribed to this channel, I would love it if you would subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos. I have a whole series coming out that I'm working really hard on for you guys about the our thrifty homeschool family traveling out west. I'm gonna talk about how we did it in a thrifty way. I'm gonna be talking about what we saw and share all kinds of awesome videos about it. And I'm still working on it. I'm gonna get that out to you guys in the next few weeks. So make sure you don't miss that and make sure you're subscribed. And I've also got homeschool stuff because I haven't even told you guys what we're doing next year yet. And that's coming up too. So lots of good stuff coming up. If you like this kind of video and this kind of content, I'd love it if you'd like this video. That'll keep me going and keep people watching. That was weird. Keep me going. I don't know why I did that. Keep me going. Okay, let's move on. So the first thing. The main thing that I would say that I did wrong, it's kind of a big thing. I thought in my head, so I'm finishing up 6th grade and all of a sudden I panicked, okay? Let me know if you're in that boat. I panicked and I said, she's gonna be in 7th grade next year. I have to do this different. I need to do this different. She can't do this with us anymore. She can't do this with us anymore. She needs to be on this like upper level of everything because she's almost in high school. Okay, don't do that. None of that is true, okay? The main thing subject-wise that I did this with was science. I saw that everybody else that was doing, that had a 7th grader was doing harder science. Like it was actually, what I did was Apologia General Science, I believe, because that's what all the people with 7th graders, not everybody with 7th graders was doing it, but in my mind, everyone that had a 7th grader was doing Apologia General Science, and I had to do it. Now, that's fine, and I'm sure it's a really good curriculum, okay? But we have always done family style science. We've done science as a family. We did the experiments together. I would give her my older kids always more challenging assignments to go on top of it, but we did it as a family. And all of a sudden, for some reason, I said she had to do this really, coming from family style science to all of a sudden doing, I thought it was a more difficult science. Doing that on her own, it was hard. It was a big adjustment, and I felt like I kind of threw her out there, did it on her own, and it was hard for her. She didn't do amazing at keeping up with it. And, I think there's good things about it. I think if I'd pushed her to keep doing it, she would have been fine. She did enjoy some of it, but I also thought that it wasn't necessary. I think that's something that we could do together. I just am a mom that prefers science as a family. I prefer history as a family. There's a handful of subjects that I like to do family style. So the one thing I learned was just because they're in 7th grade or 8th grade or even high school does not mean they can't learn as a family with you. So I'm giving you permission right now to continue to do family style learning. It's really okay. And so I learned that after 7th grade. I was like, that was a lot. Feel like she didn't enjoy the year as much as she would have. We did some really cool stuff as a family over here while she was over here all by herself. And I wish she'd just done it with us, and she could have. So for 8th grade, we did family style science, and it was great. It was awesome. I beefed up her, sorry, I have a cold. So that's why I sound like a man and I keep coughing. So sorry about that. I beefed up her assignments and gave her some extra stuff and some extra dig deeper kind of learning assignments and things like that for her and for my other daughter who was in 6th grade. But we learned together, and that's okay. So that's the biggest main thing, is don't feel like if you are a family style learning family, is that what it's called? If you are a family that likes to learn together, that likes to do a lot of the subjects together as group learning, group subjects, family subjects, whatever you want to call it, you do not have to stop just because they're in 7th grade. I need a drink of water. Okay, that's better. So I wish I had had somebody that gave me permission to continue doing what we were doing because it worked for our family. But because I didn't hear that and I felt like everybody's doing this, I have to switch gears, and it wasn't my favorite. I didn't like it. I'm glad we went back to learning as a family for her 8th grade year because it was just better. And I learned that you really can, I think, honestly, you can work all the way up through high school if you choose to, studying things together and just giving them different assignments. You don't have to do that. If you are a family that likes, if they work more independently and you want them to do something like Apologia, general science on their own, do it. That's fine. But if you are a family that likes to do family style learning, you probably get me and you understand. And this takes away that pressure of changing you into something that you're not. It's like, we didn't have to do it. So that was my biggest, I didn't like it and I wish we hadn't done it that way. That's it. That's my biggest oops in 7th grade, was putting this pressure on. Now, one other thing that I did battle with a little bit, but I didn't actually do anything with. So I'm going to tell you guys this also. Just because there are people that do college credit in 8th grade doesn't mean you have to do it. We didn't do that. But did I struggle with that pressure for a little while? Yeah, I did. Like, we have to do this in 7th grade so that we can maybe consider doing college credit in 8th grade to get them to graduate faster or whatever. That's not I don't have a goal of graduating my kid at 15 or 16. Like, I'm in no rush. I think that's fine that people do that. But you know what? I'm not worried about that right now. In 7th and 8th grade, I am someone who didn't want to add the extra pressure and having all these extra subjects and making things way harder than they need to be. For me, college credit needed to be wiped off the board for as an 8th grader. At this point, it felt good to just take that off the table and be like, she didn't need to do this. And I'm sure there could be situations where I might have one kid that is ready for it in 8th grade and one that maybe just doesn't need that pressure. Don't feel like you have to do that. I feel like that's the main thing as a homeschool mom, is the like looking at what everybody else is doing. It can be so good to see what other moms are doing and to see what curriculum they use and to see how they do this. And sometimes when you're coming into it not knowing what you're going to do, you've never homeschooled a 7th or 8th grader before, or a high school, or whatever level you're at. So we look to other moms for help. But that doesn't mean you have to do what they're doing. So this is just giving you permission to be laid back and to do what you need to do, to check the boxes you need to check, but not to jam pack it and overload it and take away all the love of learning. And that was what I tried to make sure that I did, was we still, not, there's certain subjects she didn't love learning, but overall, she still enjoyed school. There was no dreading it. I mean, we had days where we dreaded it. If it's a beautiful day outside, sometimes you dread it, but you know what I mean? Overall, it wasn't like, oh my word, this is such a heavy workload. I hate school. We didn't get to that point because I was really careful about not overloading her. So take this as your permission slip to just chill out and not overload them and think too far in the future, live for today. Okay? That's what I learned. That is kind of like the main thing, that pressure of seeing other moms do things maybe that are more than you want to do. Don't do it. You don't have to do it. Okay? All right. So that's like the main thing that I would change, is to get all that stuff out of my head and just do what works for our family. So now we're going to talk about the good stuff, the things that I would keep. Okay. What would I keep? What did we do that I loved? I loved our morning basket time that we did together. You may have heard that term. Some of you may not have heard it. It's just family time in the morning of subjects that we do together. So we did some awesome stuff together this year. We did a big focus on geography. This was for her 8th grade year. This past year of the year I'm talking about, I had an 8th grader, 6th grader, 4th grader, and a 1st grader, and we did all this stuff together. So we did a geography study. If you want to see my, I think I have a video. Yeah, I should have a video. I'll link it above, of the end of the year, what we loved and what we liked, what we didn't like with specific curriculum. I'm not talking about curriculum today. I'm just saying in general, studying geography together was awesome. Doing a game in the morning together, which a lot of times was some sort of learning game. It wasn't just like playing Taboo or something, which you could do. It's still reading, it's still learning, it's still trying to figure out the definition of something and how to explain it. But a lot of times it was like some sort of like a history game or something like that. So, geography game, things like that. So I loved doing that together as a family. And it was nice having my 8th grader in with my 6th grader, my 4th grader, and my 1st grader. It really pushes the little ones to keep up with the older ones, to answer the questions quicker. I feel like it's good for everybody. And then if the younger one or one of the younger two answer quicker than the other two, then it sure pushes them to answer quicker, things like that. I think it's just good to learn with different age levels. So I loved our morning time. We did music together. We did a hymn study together. Loved that. That was really good. And that's something I want to continue on through high school. We learned about, or continue on with next year, we learned the story behind some of the hymns that we sing, and we learned the hymns and we sang them together, and it was beautiful and I loved it and it was really fun. We also did devotions together every other day. They had their own Bible time, which was good, but they also loved their devotions. I love the devotions together. They love that and would love to do that every day. I just think that's good. It's a good interaction time. It's good to learn together, learn the Bible together. Bible verses, we started off strong and then we struggled a little bit. So I'm going to continue on with that next year, but I love doing Bible verses together because they can all learn the same Bible verse. This kid doesn't have to learn, like my 1st grader doesn't have to learn a verse that's only 2 words long. He can learn a whole sentence. You can learn 3-4 sentences all together, just like my oldest. They really soak it up and can do great. So I love doing Bible verses together. So really just the morning time was great. We did read alouds. We did better. I'm still a major struggler when it comes to read alouds. I'm not that's where I look at those other moms and I'm like, oh, I wish we did that. I wish we read, every single day. It's a struggle. I don't know why. It is what it is. I love reading and I love the idea of reading aloud to my kids, but it is a struggle sometimes. But we did better than we ever did. So yay. So I love that though. I have heard from so many moms this great piece of wisdom that even high schoolers love to be read to. So I'm not going to stop doing read alouds just because I am going to be having a high schooler and a junior higher. So keep doing read alouds. That is a huge thing that I loved doing together. One other thing that really worked with us, if you have kids that are close in age, like I had a 7th grader and a 6th grader, one thing that really worked with us was having them do some stuff together. We did Christian Light's Bible together, and theirs was more difficult, obviously, than the younger two's Bible, but I grouped them together. So sometimes it was really helpful to group kids together. So like I had my, you could call her my middle schooler, even though I said I wouldn't call 6th grade middle school, but I had my 6th grader and my 8th grader grouped together with their Bible time while I worked with the younger ones. And that was really good because they could keep each other accountable. They could grade each other's stuff, because that's usually what I did with the Bible, was I had them grade each other's stuff. So that was really good. I also grouped them together for art. I bought an art curriculum and had them do that together. And that was something that then I could work with the 2 little ones while they were able to do that independently. So that was a good thing that I really enjoyed, was having something for your middle schooler that they can work independently on. And whether you group a couple of them together, I think that makes it more fun, obviously, than just doing it by yourself, but they could do it by themselves too. So you want to have a good balance of doing things together, because you don't want them I don't want my kid completely working independently with no reading aloud, no interaction, things like that. I am not like that. I want them to have that like feel of the group discussion and things like that. I really think that's important, but they also need to learn independence. You don't want to have to hold their hand all the way up until they're in high school and, until they're graduating. So they need to be able to do stuff on their own. So I make sure I have chosen curriculum and things like that they can read the lesson on their own, do the lesson on their own, even grade it on their own if I need them to. And that has been a big success for us too, because as a mom of multiple kids, if you cannot rely on some of your older kids to help grade some of their own stuff, at least for me, grading is such a big struggle to keep up with it because I've got 4 kids and I don't want to spend all day grading. So I do have them grade each other's stuff sometimes, or I grade their own. So you want to be able to trust your kid and let them do that. But that was another thing that was a successful thing, is trusting them, like with math. They did Christian Light Education math. They could do their own lesson. They read their own lesson, they did the whole lesson, and then the next day they just graded each other's right before they started their lesson. And all I would do was grade the tests and quizzes. I would love to grade everything, but I'm a failure at it. So it is, you've got to accept your failures and your successes, and that is one of my failures. So that worked for us. So you've got to be able to do that. Really, that's it. Like, it wasn't as stressful as I made it out to be. So if you have something that's working with your family, just make sure your kid that's in junior high is covering the subjects they need to cover, beef up the assignments for them. But if you want to continue to study it as a family, to study science or history or geography or whatever it is, art, music, whatever, if you want to study that stuff as a family, study it as a family. Don't feel pressured to get them all these difficult things just because they're in 7th and 8th grade. So that is something that I wish that someone had told me before I started. And so I was hoping that would help you guys to just relax a little bit, because it really wasn't that big of a deal. We just successfully did 2 years, and I don't really have any big regrets. It was really, really good. And even it has helped me, going back and reflecting on this has helped me feel less pressure about 9th grade, because I started to go through that again at the end of last year. Oh my goodness, I'm not a high schooler. What am I going to do? It's not that big of a deal. It's not that different from what we have been doing. You just have to assign credits, make sure they're doing the things that they're supposed to be doing that are required. And I've heard from many wise homeschool moms that I've talked to that tell me, don't put all this extra pressure just because they're in high school, because it's not that. Really, nothing needs to change. If you've been successfully homeschooling them up to this point, not a whole lot needs to change. You know, their subjects change, their curriculum changes. It's going to get more difficult, but doesn't mean you have to throw everything out that you've done that works and start something new. So I hope this was a bit of an encouragement for you guys that have middle schoolers or are going to have middle schoolers or down the road are going to have middle school, and maybe it completely terrifies you. It's not that big of a deal. You can do it. Okay? I promise. Thanks for being here. If you guys like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time.